Hello, everybody. We are the Sports Geek, and we are here with MADDY SIEGRIST. We are honored to be with her. MADDY, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about a few things. Definitely want to get your thoughts on the current state of college basketball and all that's going right now because it's really blowing up. But first, I want to talk a little bit about you. So multiple-time Big East Player of the Year, led the nation in scoring in 2022. Can you just sum up as best you can your college basketball career and how does it feel now looking back on it?
It just was so exciting, and then just to see how much the game has, continued to grow in my career. I mean, NIL, like COVID was 1 year, and then to March Madness the last few years to really just continue to explode. It was just like, for me, I'm just so glad I was a part of like that era of women's college basketball.
How do you think your first year in the WNBA went?
I think it was really good. I mean, it's so exciting, and I feel like, you never think it's gonna come, and then you're finally a pro, and like it's such a cool, feeling. And for the draft is in April, and then you're going, and it's so quick, especially on the women's side. And just to be on a good team we lost to Vegas in the semifinals. So to have that much success as a team that early in my career, I couldn't have been more grateful.
There's definitely a lot of differences between college game and the professional level. For you, what was the biggest challenge entering the WNBA?
I think, everybody is a great player, really, truly great. But physically, It's like you got to work smarter. So just I think it takes 10 or 12 games to just get used to how the games are going to flow and how to play with your teammates. You don't have college. I feel like you have the summer workouts, then you have September and October before you even play a game. WNBA, you have a few weeks and then you're playing a game. So it's such a quick turnaround.
Do you have anything specific to your game that you're looking to improve upon going into next season?
I think, every year you want to add something, you want to continue, to build. So just continue to get more comfortable, shooting off the bounce, hopping, just different footwork things that I think, you could always continue to sharpen up. Defensively, just watch a ton of film on really smart defenders and how to do that on the defensive end, how to beat that on the offensive end. You
had said that, a lot of these WNBA players are some of the best in the world. Do you have somebody that when you played against them, you were most shocked and most wow, this person is really good?
Probably Breanna, Stewart, because that's who I grew up watching. I mean, from being from New York, Connecticut was not that far, and I was oh my gosh, I feel like that was a really cool moment. I mean, and then of course Asia Wilson, Taurasi, those guys. But I feel for me, Breanna Stewart, just because I had watched her so much growing up.
Yeah, Breanna Stewart was definitely the person that got basketball on my radar as well. So we have a lot of big-time rookies entering this upcoming draft class in WNBA. What would be your biggest piece of advice for everybody entering the draft class this year in terms of that first transition to the WNBA?
Just be a sponge. I think, you want to be a sponge and learn as much as you can from the people around you. And for me, the vets were really willing, they want to help you succeed. And just give yourself some grace. You're going to grow a lot as not only a player, but a person as well. So you got to continue to remind yourself that, especially if it's not the instant success that you might want.
I know you watched the final. A lot of people did. 18.7 million people. Did you have a side in that game? And what did you think of the game?
So I didn't really have a side. I mean, I've watched both teams a lot. I think, South Carolina was a heavy favorite. They're just so good and so deep, and they just keep subbing, and it's just the kids are getting better and better. They don't lose anything, and I feel the whole world was behind Iowa, it felt like. So watching that game, I was just excited to see a good game. And then, I was happy for South Carolina. I was happy for Dawn when they won. But it was such a great tournament. I feel like everybody was so invested. I'm the oldest of four. My two brothers were who do you have tonight? They were so excited for the game. So I think just seeing that, I'm just so proud of, to be a part of it.
What do you think kind of just in general about the evolution of, the women's side of basketball and the growing popularity that it's getting?
I just think it's great. And I think, when you build something, like, people will come, and like continuing to see, like, ESPN at all the games, like how many people were tuned in watching. And, it was only, I think 2 or 3 years ago that March Madness branding was allowed for the women's tournament. So just to see like how much it's grown, is great. And it's all built on, the people's backs who have played before, and all the great players who, played since the beginning of college basketball. And now with like, the social media world, I think, if you just you could look up a player in 2 minutes on Instagram, or you can Google them, where like, I feel like that's just, now you have so much more access to these players. So then, people, build, like, relate, like they become a fan. And that's why, they're going to continue to tune in, and continue to tune in at the next level, because Caitlin Clark, they're going to love her, and they're going to love her, wherever she is next.
Speaking of Caitlin, do you think that she will have any trouble translating her playing style from college to the WNBA? Do you have any thoughts on what that might look like?
I think she's a great player, so I think she'll be fine. I hope everybody gives her a little grace I think obviously she's a heavy favorite to go to Indiana, but every style is different. So it might, it could take a game, it could take 2 games, it could take no games, could take 20 games. But I think her style, she's so electric of a player that she'll be fine.
Going into your next year, do you have any thoughts on kind of where you think your team may end up? Are you excited about y'all's chances this year?
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. I think we have like a really good, like, young core. So I think just continuing to build that. I mean, Arike is one of the best players in the game. So to be able to play alongside her, Satu, we just have so many strong players. I think everybody's just continuing to elevate their game, for one another, just to put ourselves in, the best position, for postseason this year.
Just from a broad perspective, what's the best basketball advice that you've ever received?
Probably that everybody's path looks different, and like, just worry about yours. And I feel like for me, like in high school, I wasn't on any of the ESPN list. I wasn't in top 100, and that could be like frustrated. And I remember somebody saying that to me, and I was like, oh, all right. And like, if you're gonna get to where you want to go, if that's your goal. So don't worry about how you get there, because everybody's path, your path, you might have to go through something, for later, just to help you.
To kind of just close out this interview, just a few kind of one-line answers. So these will be more just like brief, rapid-fire style questions. First, who's your favorite basketball idol growing up?
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird. Okay.
Well, Breanna Stewart on the women's side. Larry Bird probably on the
Yes.
men's. My dad was a huge Larry Bird fan, so I feel like I was always talked about a lot.
Do you have a favorite basketball movie or sports movie?
Loving basketball. I love that movie. Even now, I'll watch it every couple of months probably.
Who's the toughest opponent that you've played on the court, be it on the professional level or the college side?
I think on the college side, UCONN, 20,000 people. I feel like that's such an electric environment. And then, it's very similar when you play the Aces, with 4 or 5 number 1 picks. So when you play them, you can't help off anybody. So probably those 2 teams.
If you could play one-on-one with any basketball legend, I guess men or women, who would it be, and why would you choose them?
Probably Jordan, just to say, like, you did it. I feel like he's like so popular, and just to say, like, oh yeah, like I played against Jordan one-on-one would be really cool.
What's your go-to pregame meal or snack?
Ooh, I like salmon. I'm a big salmon fan, so like some type of salad, salmon, either pasta, mashed potatoes.
Do you have a favorite song right now? Maybe one that gets you going pregame?
I think like Dreams and Nightmares. I think because being at Villanova was such a Philly school that everybody always played that in the locker room. So now whenever I hear that, I'm like, oh, game time. Okay.
I can remember, years ago and watching the game, my dad would be like, man, who's this Siegrist girl? Man, she's good. And yeah, just part of a long line of people in women's basketball that have really started to expand the game. So thank you so much, Maddie, for giving us your time for this interview. And we wish you best of luck this coming year in Dallas.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.